I'm a fan of cars that can just do one thing and do it really, really well, but I'm also a big fan of cars that are very well-rounded. This is Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and I'm here with the 2024 Maserati GranTurismo. GranTurismo stands for Grand Tourer in Italian, and that is exactly the point of a GT car. It is supposed to be sporty and comfortable and luxurious, and in Maserati's case, they want to offer true seating for four. Now I'm here outside of Los Angeles, outside of Pasadena, California to be exact, with this Maserati GranTurismo, and I'm gonna have about 59 other people joining me here in just a minute to go on our first ever Los Ange-yass road rally. We've got people joining from both the Southern California area and otherwise, so we're gonna be using this Maserati GranTurismo as one of our 3 group lead cars to get people through our 2.5-hour fun, twisty back road drive route. So this is going to be both a kind of discussion of the event and a review of this car. So let's get right on into it and talk, first of all, what is going on with the 2024 GranTurismo. Okay, so first of all, let's just talk about the basics of this GranTurismo. So as you can see, this is a 2-door coupe. This is a fairly long car. It's got a long wheelbase of about 115 inches. For reference, that is about an inch longer than my personal Porsche Cayenne. So this is going to be a long wheelbase. It's not going to be, quite as nimble on the surface as something like a Mazda Miata, but that's not the point. The point is you have comfort, you have space, and in this case, you do have true seating for 4 in here. So if we poke our heads inside, this does have a new interior we'll get to in just a second, but you can see I've got the seat adjusted here for my 6'1" self. I could, of course, move it forward just a touch to give people leg room, but point being, there is indeed room back here if you are looking to have 4 people in this car. So you've got 4 bucket seats. Everyone's got some charging, some armrests, some cup holders. We love all of that. And let's take a look at this interior, because this is also new for 2024. So if I hop on in here, we can take a look at the steering wheel, the gauge cluster, the everything. This is a new steering wheel. You've got your start-stop button right here. You've got your drive mode and suspension settings right here. And then you've got controls for the cluster, for your infotainment, and your cruise control. Now you've also got a fully digital gauge cluster going on over here. And then if we take a look at the center stack, this is a combination clock and compass, which I find really cool. It looks like it's analog, but it is in fact a digital little screen. And then moving further down, you do have a dual screen sort of setup here. And it says start car for climate functions. Let's just go ahead and start the car. I love those little kind of horn toots as the welcome sound. I think it's really cute. Gives the car a little bit of personality. And you can see here we've got the full digital cluster going on. You can change what's shown here with a couple different buttons. And this is actually pretty nice because I don't know how much you can tell if you've spent time with some other Stellantis branded vehicles. I'm gonna maybe commit a little no-no here and be like, hey, this has actually got some stuff shared with things including like Ram trucks, but this is the point. Maserati is part of the greater Stellantis family of products here, and the benefit is that you've got all the money and the R&D that get poured into other brands can also be used here. So Maserati is starting with kind of the basis of a lot of Stellantis products for the sake of gauge clusters, infotainment, just the way things are set up, and then they're putting their own spin on everything and changing some of the functionality. And in that case, it's a good thing because I love what Stellantis is doing. This is effectively Uconnect 5, the latest version, which you'll see in the newest Rams and Chryslers and Alfa Romeos and that sort of thing as well. So if we take a look back here, you've got the main gauge cluster screen. We can cycle through a bunch of different options. I just like having it on the navigation, and then this screen on the right, you can show kind of where power's going, your tire pressure, all sorts of different things if you would like to see that. So that's all pretty cool. And then if we take a look over here at the center stack, again, like I said, Uconnect 5, so you've got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can also go to a home screen and you can configure all of this if you are looking to just, you know, set up your own apps and things. You don't have to use CarPlay if you do not want to. And then if we poke further down here, this is an interesting setup. So your shift buttons are right here. Took me a second to find them, but I got this car in the dark, so totally fair. So just park through drive, and then you can push again for a manual mode because you do have some gigantic paddle shifters here. Now looking further down, this is a second screen. Other brands are doing this. Audi's been one of the biggest proponents of it lately, where they put all the climate control down here, they put other controls down here, and I'm still getting used to this, but it does seem to work pretty well. So you've got some persistent controls down here. This bottom row doesn't change ever. And then you've got your climate control here in the center by default, and then you can control other things. So this is where your lighting control is, which I don't love because it's in a touchscreen. I've complained about this on Chevrolet Colorado and GMC Canyon trucks, but in any case, don't really love it either way, but it's here. You can control your center clock here, whatever you want this guy to show. You can have it show a clock, a compass. It can show you how much you're applying the brake or the throttle if you want that, and you can have it be a G meter. And then if we look over here, this will let you control your seats, your memory position, your bolstering, and then your passenger side as well. And then you've got ambient lighting control here too. So kind of nice. This does seem to work very well. It's very snappy, which I like. That is really the big hallmark of a good system, is if the software and the processors can move quickly. Because if it can, then things can be pretty good. If it can't and everything's laggy, that's when things get really, really frustrating. Other thing to talk about here is the drivetrain of this car, because Maserati offers a couple different drivetrains for 2024, including a fully electric setup. This is kind of one of their vehicles that is helping them get into a more electrified version of themselves for the future. Now this one is of course not electric. You probably heard the engine start up, but let me pop the hood and show you what's going on under there. So if we take a look under here, this is going to be the Nettuno 3-liter V6. This is a Maserati design. It might share some stuff with Ferrari and Alfa Romeo, according to a couple sources I found, but Maserati says it's their own thing. And in any case, this is a 3-liter twin turbocharged V6. They call it the Nettuno. And in this case, it makes 483 horsepower and 361 pound-feet of torque. There is a second version of this car that makes a little bit more power and torque, and then you've got that electric version as well. But in this case, this is going to be, quote, the base model, and I think it's going to be plenty powerful. Maserati said this is good for a 188 mile-an-hour top speed and a 3.7 second 0 to 60 run. And then this is going to be paired to an 8-speed ZF Source torque converter automatic transmission, as are so many cars these days that are frankly very, very good, and an all-wheel drive system. Now, I'm not sure how much you can see here as we take a look further down, but this engine is entirely behind the front axle, which is fantastic. It means that in theory, the weight balance and the handling of this are going to be really, really nice. So with all that, let's get all these other people wrangled up here, get them all lined up, and let's hit some canyon roads outside of Pasadena and talk all about how this GranTurismo is to drive. First things first, I want to talk engine because we're going to come up on a tunnel here in just a second. So this 3-liter V6 has been around for a couple years, and I really like it. I think it sounds good. On the one hand, I would like a little more drama, but on the other hand, I'm going to lower the windows here, and you'll hear this either way. I think it sounds pretty good. All right, so there's your exhaust clip. So I would love a touch more drama. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is this car has like 500 miles on it, so that exhaust will probably break in just a little bit more as the car gets driven. So, but all that to say, I think it sounds actually really good. I think it's hard to make a V6 sound good, and this is a nice one. I do wish it would rev a touch higher. It's not a super screamer of an engine. The red line is indicated at 6,500 here, so it's, you know, it could be just a touch more of that. But in any case, it makes pretty good power. It feels like it's making good power almost to that red line. It does fall off just a touch. They've got the, you know, the turbos set to give you more grunt down low and through that pretty fat, meaty mid-range more than anything. But it does sound really nice. And then it's paired to that ZF8 speed. You know, we're seeing a lot more of the ZF8 versus a DCT. And you know, that is okay for me. Even manufacturers are using the ZF8 in racing applications now because it's so durable, it does really well, and you know, you don't need a DCT. And a dual clutch is, you know, harder to maintain, and it's you know, for a lot of buyers, it's just not going to make much difference. And the ZF8, you know, it's used in everything from Ram trucks to cars like this, and it's all in the tuning, it's all in the details with it. It's the same basic setup, and then you can make changes based on the manufacturer and the type of car and all that. So all that to say, I really like the ZF8. It shifts really quick. You heard it in the exhaust clip. You know, this is in full sport mode. It does a really good job. And then you've got these paddles here, which do not move with the steering wheel. They're fixed to the column. So the only issue there is that you're just going to have some challenges reaching the turn signal and wiper stalks if you've got smaller hands. But it's nice because, you know, for the sake of always knowing where the paddles are, they're always right here. So all that to say, the transmission behaves well. I'm really a fan of that. That's easy. Steering wise, this feels good. I thought it was a little too light at lower speeds, but when I started picking the pace up, then the weight all felt more appropriate. And obviously, you know, with your different drive modes, your selector's right here on the steering wheel, but with your different drive modes, it will feel lighter or heavier based on what you choose. Now, it is fairly decent feedback. You know, it's communicative enough without being irritating, because a car like this, you don't want it to be telling you every single pebble in the road. You just want to know about most of the pebbles. So it's doing a nice job. It feels really good. And then brakes, you know, the brakes are huge. They feel good. Good initial bite, progressive pedal, easy to modulate, and that is also pretty fantastic. Now, where I'm having a little bit of a something with this is in the suspension. It's got adaptive suspension with air springs to help, you know, with ride height. It'll lower itself at higher speeds and all that. And thankfully, there's a separate button on the steering wheel here. The shocks themselves in sport mode in this setting, keep in mind I'm on canyon roads that are pretty well maintained but can be a little choppy here and there. The suspension is, I think, a little too overeager in certain spots. It's not a bad thing, but it's just a little too, it's more rough than I'm looking for here. And all that to say, you can push the shock absorber button on the steering wheel, and then suddenly they go back to their comfort setting. So now things are really nice. You're a little more isolated from the road, but the car is still very competent, feels very good. So that's that. And then finally, just, you know, seat comfort, driving position, that sort of thing. This is a car that tall people will be comfortable in. I have plenty of room in here. I'm 6'1". I've got a pretty long torso. I was talking to people earlier before we left about fitting in cars, especially like Miatas, where you've got really cramped headroom and you need to be comfortable. I don't fit in tight cars very well. I have a really hard time because I have a taller torso. This car, you can see, I've got room above my head. I've got several inches, and then also the steering wheel, the column will come out. It's a telescoping wheel, and everything is meant for a tall person if you are a tall person. So that, I think, is also really, really nice. The seat cushion has an extendable bottom bolster for your thighs, which is great. I'm supremely comfortable in here. And so all that to say, I really like this car. I wasn't sure, you know, I just don't have any experience with Maseratis, and I think a lot of my media friends might have stronger feelings about this car, but I'm really enjoying it. The only thing to think about is just what you can buy for this price. So this one in particular has a decent number of options on it, and the MSRP is right around $193,000. Now, I am not the most well-versed in cars that are that sort of price point. However, I do know you can buy an Aston, a very high-end 911, various Mercedes-Benzes. You know, you've got a lot of competition in this category, and I think they're all doing things a little differently with a little different focus. I know Maserati is focused especially on kind of the art and the drama and the experience and that sort of thing, not exactly just the drive itself. They're looking to have a more holistic experience. So all that to say, this might be a little softer than some cars. It might be a little different compared to what some people are looking for. It's not going to be quite as hardcore of a sports car, but that's not what they're looking to have here. So I'm a fan of this because I know I'm going to finish my day doing this with this road rally, and then tomorrow morning I'm going to throw my suitcase in here and drive this in LA traffic to LAX and head home. So it will be just as comfortable on the interstate as it is here on these roads, and that is a car that a lot of people want. So My only real complaint is that it's gray. There's better colors. They have a whole custom color palette thing that you can do, and gray on black is like not my jam. But if it is your jam, that's cool. This has been a really fun road rally. We do these all over the country. We're doing them in more places moving forward, and you know, we get a lot of people together to just enjoy good back roads and have a nice time, a lot of social time, and see each other's cars, get rides, and hang out. And if that sounds fun to you, head over to outmotorsports.com, follow us on all the socials. We'll be posting all of our schedule for 2024 as we move forward here, and we would love to have you for any and all of these. So thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe on roads like this and otherwise, and we'll see you for the next one.